wonderful night air. Hey, welcome to the Montreal Man Show. As you can tell, it's nighttime and I'm filming this little intro to the show. It's a nice, wonderful day. Windy, it's cold. But I just want to get something off my mind. People always say that when it's cold, Canadians are crazy. They walk around in winter wearing only shorts. I'm not sure where they're getting that from. Yeah, that's right. It is a Canadian fact. We wear shorts in winter. We are crazy. And now back to the regular show. We're doing this again. All right. Greetings and salutations. 'Tis I, Lowry. And today on Lowry's Look At, well, I was asked to look at the housing crisis that the world is facing today. Well, with what I get paid here working for a man in the sink, I'll never be able to afford an apartment on my own. I'll have to continue living with that white rat. Talk about an odd couple. Hey. But all right, the housing crisis in the world. Well, let's be honest. It's insane! Most people can't even afford a place of their own anymore. It's horrible, not just here in Canada. I mean, heck, I thought Vancouver was bad. Montreal is looking really good now. I still want to go to that ape planet, though. It's not real. What do you mean it's not real? I bet their rents are cheaper. But no, with the way the world economy is, most people in most free countries can't afford rent. At least not on their own. It's insane. Housing costs keep on going up, but wages don't. That's why I'm stuck living with a white rat. So yeah, it's not just here either, by the way. I looked into it. I did some research. Yes, I can read. Unlike some other people I know. I looked at rents across Canada, the United States, the UK, Hong Kong, New Zealand, Australia. You know it's bad when New Zealand is ranked the #1 freest world to live in, and the rents there are cheaper than here. But no, overall, to sum up my view on the housing crisis, it sucks! That's it for now. We'll see you next time when I look at something hopefully more intelligent than this, at least something less depressing than this. We'll see you next time. Goodbye. God, living with that rat's horrible. He's a messy guy. Pick up your junk! Hey, welcome to my upstairs library, or as I call it, my bedroom that's full of antique books, but not all of them are that old. Yes, most of the stuff you see behind me, actually everything you see behind me, is pre-1945, but I have one bookshelf here saved for some of my favorite authors. One of those favorite authors is, gave a hint last week, Dan Simmons. Now this is his book, Carrying Comfort. If you like horror books, forget that hack Stephen King who just takes... Oh, if you're a Stephen King fan, warning, you're going to hate me because I think Stephen King gets most of his ideas from old B movies. Right off the bat. Basically, watching a lot of movies like I did growing up, and then I read Stephen King books, there's so much Stephen King work out there that, honestly, he watched a B movie, got an idea for a book based on the B movie. There's nothing too wrong with that, but I like originality. That's why I'm recommending Carrying Comfort. You want an interesting take on something? Dan Simmons is the guy to put it. You know, he basically wrote this book. I mean, it's a thick one. I mean, it came out years and years ago, but I'm sure you can still find these at some secondhand bookstores. Once more, go to your local secondhand bookstore. But the funny thing is about this book, it's not my favorite Dan Simmons book. No, I have a lot of Dan Simmons books. I mean, the one that got me really hooked, I mean, it's, excuse the copy damage, I lent these out, but Hyperion. You want to talk about a unique take on science fiction. Hyperion, and it wasn't the only one, because Hyperion also had a sequel, Endymion. It also had The Rise of Endymion. It was followed by Illum. Probably said that wrong. It was also followed by Olympus. Basically, a 5 novel. We're not talking thin little. No, we're talking novels of wonderful science fiction. And, oh, I forgot to mention, there's also The Fall of Hyperion. If you want, The Hyperion Cantos. And this is when I started my crave for hardcovers, was Olympus, by the way. But no, he didn't just write these. And if you want to sort of get into an introduction to Dan Simmons stuff, I'd say get this one. Dan Simmons' Prayer to Broken Stones. This is sort of like a compilation of like some short stories, but this will get you into Dan Simmons. You realize, wow, this guy really knows how to write. He describes things in such a way that you can picture it in your mind. This is a good writer, and I do recommend him. This is something that I don't think the world is ready yet to see in a live action format. It would be cool. I mean, I would love to see the Hyperion series done. Live action would be amazing. But I don't think the world's ready for it. It's that good. So I definitely recommend that. And if you do, once you do like him, he's got 3 other books out there. There's Children of the Night, another horror book. Phases of Gravity. And I just lost... I was rereading it and I lost my page because I had to use one of my Barry Windsor Smith cards. I'll find the page again. I've read the book already. And of course, The Hollow Man. This sounds familiar, right? Do some research. That's it for the classic book review. Next week, I think I'm going to talk about a series that I love. I sort of gave a hint at them before, but I'm just reaching over to the shelf. Hey, this is an unscripted show. We don't script anything, ever. It'd be too weird if I did. But I want to talk about, I'm going to give you guys a hint. I'm going to talk about Chris Brunch. Not necessarily the Homefall series. This was his second series. This actually was his last series he did. And once more, thanks to my buddy Shane, because Shane was able to give me the last 2 books of the series that I was missing. But I want to talk about his original series that got me hooked on his writing. He is someone, I will tell you when I talk about his books next week, I will say you will have an extremely hard time finding them. I couldn't even find the last 2 here. That's one time I would say, check your public library. Because oddly enough, the public library here in Ottawa had those 2 last books. So even before my buddy Shane sent me the 2 books I was missing, I was able to read them. I just couldn't have them in my shelf. Well, that's it for the book review of the week. I hope you like it. I hope you get the inspiration to go out there and seek out Dan Simmons' works. You won't regret it. You won't. You won't. It's a wonderful series to read. I mean, it takes time, mind you. I mean, we're talking 5 novels plus, but it is so worth it. You will never forget reading that series. It is so good. I recommend it. He is a wonderful horror author. He's only second to my other favorite horror author, which is not Stephen King, because I'm not a big fan of Stephen King. And I know you're thinking, oh, it's probably, Lovecraft, right? You're probably thinking, this is probably his favorite horror writer. He's not. He's number 3. Yeah, he's number 3 on my list. Go figure that out. But that'll be a review for some down the road time. Now, if you want to know who my favorite author is, well, it's Neil Gaiman. I mean, he's alive, which is a good thing. I don't think Neil Gaiman really writes horror. He writes intelligent, well-written stories that involve research and mythologies and beautiful imagery. But I'll save him for a Neil Gaiman special. Like a Neil Gaiman will actually take one book and really go into depth. But the whole point of doing these book reviews is not to tell you the whole story. It's to get you to want to go out there and read. And find some older stuff that's good. Because I go to the bookstores nowadays, the new stores, and I see a lot of the same stuff over and over again. I see authors that I look at and I go, I'm not inspired. Like, I'll read a couple pages in. Like, not just the first 3-4 pages. No. I normally will open up a book, go to the middle, and read a couple pages. And if you don't grab me, I'm not buying your book. Because I guess I'm jaded now after reading so many good authors all these years. I just can't read your everyday, Oprah Winfrey recommended book. I also write poetry, so I understand what it means to be a visual writer, to write something that you'll see in your mind. You'll hear the voices in your head, not the usual voices you hear. Let's not talk about those. But on that note, let's get to the next segment, and we'll be back real soon. Hey, I know I should be in my library, but I'm enjoying the sun today. And what I want to talk about first is last week I did a rant about how I'm worried about the world today, especially with the rise of nationalism, basically another form of fascism. And someone made a comment that they wanted me to talk about a certain subject in a certain way, and I will. The next segment's going to be me doing that. But I want to show you one of the things that made me think about last week's topic. You see, I love saving old books. This book, it's falling apart, but I saved it because, guess what? It has knowledge that you don't find online. I've actually picked up, this is about World War I, by the way. And this gives you information you just don't find online. And that's why I brought up my comparisons last week to, a certain person, last century, nationalist, but whatever. I'll let you watch the response, and I'll be back afterwards with my own new rant of the week. Hey, welcome back to my basement, or as I call it, my office. This is where I do a lot of my writing. This is where I do a lot of my research. It's basically, my cave. And this is not a rant. I know I'm known for my rants and weird stories. This is just a response to a comment I got last week. Last week, I posted a rant that I took from my YouTube channel, the Mad Montreal Man channel, specifically from my show, The Montreal Man Show. It's a show where I don't take things too seriously, but I will put a rant in or a commentary. And I made a commentary how I was looking at a lot of governments around the world becoming more nationalistic/fascist. And, I basically went on about something we should be thinking about and worried about, learning from history. And this person made a comment asking me to do a video on my thoughts on Germany pre-World War II, but from the German perspective. Now, I'm not sure what the person meant by the comments, but I figured I don't mind. Because I was lucky enough, because I am old, and growing up in Montreal, I got to know people from at least two sides of Germany. I got to know some brothers who left Germany right before World War II. And I also got to meet a older man who lived with my grandfather. Didn't live with my grandfather. My grandfather owned a triplex in Montreal, and one of his tenants was this old German man. This German man fought in World War I, saw what Germany was like all the way up until World War II, and because he once served in World War I, he was forced back into the army, sort of, in World War II, where he was assigned to a prison camp. That's, I won't go into his story, but as a child obsessed with World War II, I wonder why. My grandfather was a merchant marine in World War I. My uncle, Alex, served in World War II. My father, I can't talk about what he did in World War II, but I'm proud of him. He was French-Canadian, but he didn't serve with the French army. No. It's apparently what I've been told, it's been classified what he did. But apparently he went and worked with the U.S. somehow at the age of 16. I have suspicions, but when I did some research into his past, I was basically told, this is told by a military captain in the States, be proud of your father. I can't tell you what he did, but be proud of him. So I'm proud of my dad. But having this different perspective and talking to these people, getting their side of things, because as a kid, I'll admit, watching all the war movies, you kind of get a skewed impression of what Germany was like. It's like, Germans are bad based on the movies. But they weren't. I mean, Peter Lorre was German. Marlene Dietrich was German. Not bad people, actually, both super talented actors and actresses. And there's a lot more people like that from Germany. But to understand the German perspective before World War II, you have to acknowledge a couple things. Number one, there's more than one perspective of Germany pre-World War II. But to really understand that, you have to go back to pre-World War I Germany. So let's start there. So, turn of the century, Germany was like most countries in Europe, a monarchy, basically slowly getting out of the agricultural type of world into the industrial world. And of course, they were a country that people respected. People would go to Germany on their, like, back in those days, you would take a 2-month trip for vacation. People would go to Germany. People would visit Germany. It was a beautiful country. People were well respected. A lot of Germans, however, did also look at, there was a class system. You had the upper class and you had the lower class. There was no real middle class back in those days. Middle class is a relatively new creation that came from the Industrial Revolution. But it was pretty much, you had the upper class who had all the money, had all the say, and you had the lower class. Now, understanding that, you would also understand why a lot of people left Germany pre-World War I. A lot of people left Germany after World War I. But a lot of people were leaving Germany before World War I. A lot of them immigrated to the States. There's a lot of German people living in the United States before World War I. In Canada, the same thing. They left Germany because they wanted to have a better life. Because if you're lower class, you're going to go somewhere where you might have a better life. The same thing happened in a whole bunch of other countries as well. So World War I hits, all because of an assassination and politics, and my cousin, this cousin. I won't go into the politics of World War I. But World War I happened. We all know what happened after World War I. Well, Germany lost. They invaded some countries, they lost, and the Versailles Accords sort of put Germany in a very bad economic situation. However, let's start from right after World War I. Talking to these 3 people I got to know as a kid, pretty much until I was a teenager, they had such unique views of Germany. For example, the brothers, they told me after World War I, there was a couple of different views in Germany. Different perspectives, you like. One perspective was, let's get on with our lives. It's over. Let's just continue surviving, get on with our lives, try to build a better life for ourselves and our kids. That was the most common perspective right after World War I. They just wanted to get on with their lives. There was also a lot of anger, but not necessarily at the other countries. A lot of anger towards the government of Germany. They were mad. I mean, you guys brought us into a war. We lost. So many people died. On top of all the sadness that was going on, the sorrow, people lost their families. People lost pretty much the people they cared about. They lost everything. So it was that kind of like mix of, I just want to get on with my life. I'm depressed. I'm sad. And I'm angry. Especially when a lot of people in Germany, and the brothers told me this, even the soldier, he basically told me, he didn't know why he went to World War I. He was a young man, went to war. He was assigned as not a pilot, but he was with the Luftwaffe. He was assigned basically to work on, keeping the Luftwaffe planes flying. So, before, I don't think it was called Luftwaffe back in World War I, whatever. He was basically a young mechanic assistant in World War I. So he actually never fought in World War I. He was just assigned to it. He had a gun. He never shot anybody. So he was kind of like, thankfully innocent of any war crimes, unlike most Canadians were at the time. Oh boy, let's not even talk about that. But he was telling me that after the war, his view on the war was he just wanted to get on with his life. He just was like, I'm happy it's over. He lost a lot of friends. He was mad at the government as well. He was really mad at the government. He was like, this is wrong. We should never have gone to war. This is supposed to be a great age of mankind, especially pre-World War I. One thing I forgot to mention, Germany was how can I put it this way? A wonderful world of inspiration for scientists. There were so many scientists in Germany at the time who were looking at saying, hey, as we industrialize, we have to look at new sciences. We have to start exploring the mysteries of science. So they had that. And after World War I, those scientists were still saying, well, war's over. Let's just get back to business. Let's get back to working on science. So they did. So this tenant of my grandfather's told me that what happened was, I'll give you his perspective because I don't want to go, this is going to go past 10 minutes, unfortunately. So you might have to go to the Montreal Man channel to watch the rest of this if it goes past 10 minutes. But his perspective was basically after the war, he was happy it was over. He wanted to get on with his life. So, of course, he saw the rest of the world doing, the great boom of the 20s, right? But then came the Depression. And he goes, this is when everyone's perspectives changed in Germany. Because when they saw the States and parts of Canada, the great stock crash, their perspective was, our economy is so bad now that we don't even have the hopes of moving to the States. Because after World War I, a lot of Germans left Germany to go live in the States. A lot of them did. So come the 30s, what did you have? You had a lot of these unemployed people, a lot of unemployed men were not working, and they were angry. They were mad because what put them in this situation? Why is their economy so bad? Well, it was so bad because they went to World War I. Well, they didn't go to themselves, but their country was at war, World War I, and they lost, and they had these horrible economic sanctions put on them. The world opinion changed on Germany. So a lot of people in the 1930s were starting to get, they're angry. They weren't working, and they still had only two classes. You had upper class, lower class, so they got mad. They were angry. They wanted to blame somebody. And that's the most common perspective people know about, of these young people who want to blame everybody. The other perspective was, we're just going to survive. We have to survive somehow. Some people were like, you know what? Bad things are coming. Let's leave. Okay? Now, the reason I mention this is because the one thing I didn't mention earlier before, when you have the two-class system, upper class, educated, scientists, super educated, well done. Lower class, not as educated. Going to universities back in those days was expensive. So you can imagine, World War I ends, all these people are not working anymore. Young people can't find jobs because all of a sudden there's no work for them because the 30s are there, Great Depression, there's no work. They're frustrated. But not only are they frustrated and angry, they're also not educated. They probably got the basic education, didn't know much about anything else. They never had the opportunity to go and learn more, to become more educated. The educated people saw what was coming. They're like, okay. Now, some of them were also angry. Let's be honest, not every German scientist was like, we have to leave. No, a lot of them were like, okay, they're going to stay. Because they were men of science. They didn't care about politics. A lot of people don't realize that. People of science don't necessarily care about politics. Different nowadays, but back in those days, if you were a scientist, you were a scientist. Einstein was a scientist. Werner von Braun was a scientist. These were all scientists. And they didn't care so much about politics. They saw what was coming. They saw it and they were worried, but for the most part, they were educated men. They figured, okay, let's just try to keep working. Some left, some didn't. Let's not go into details of that. But the whole point was this, about my whole rant was, when you have a system where you have people who are angry, frustrated, and not educated, you're going to have that tendency to follow someone who's charismatic and say, I can save you. I can do this. And they didn't bother saying, well, hold on, what's he saying? They just went, we like what he's saying. It's positive. Let's follow him. Let's follow him. So a lot of Germans did that. A lot of Germans were like, okay, let's follow this guy who's voicing our anger, who's voicing our distrust, who's voicing what we want to hear. That's the most common perspective people have when they think about Germany pre-World War II. And that was a very common German perspective, but it wasn't the only one. A lot of Germans were also thinking, this is scary. This guy is, not good. But they stayed. A lot of them stayed anyway because either they couldn't afford to leave or they just didn't think what was going to happen. So a lot of them were, okay, we'll survive. This guy will get elected. He's a politician. Yap, yap, yap. So they stayed. So you went from having sort of like three perspectives after World War I: anger, sorrow, and surviving. Just want to get on with their lives, to having pretty much two perspectives. Germans basically thought, okay, this guy is telling us what we want to hear. Let's follow him. Others were like, I don't like this guy so much, but I'm in the minority here. I'm like, don't have the voice that I can fight against these people. Especially when the violence started breaking out. This is pre-World War II. A lot of people who were against this Because one thing that was common in Germany as well was a pacifist movement. There was a lot of pacifists, especially after World War II. These are the people who just wanted to survive. They were pacifists. The scientists were pacifists for the most part. They just wanted to survive. So what do you think happens to a pacifist, an intellectual, for example, when the masses are uneducated, the masses are kept ignorant of the facts, of the truth? How do you think those pacifists are going to react? How do you think they're going to feel when the violence starts happening? They're going to keep their mouth shut because they just want to survive. And these are the German perspectives I got from actually speaking to people who were from Germany. This is also not just from doing research. I've also done a lot of research on this. I spent the entire week back-checking a lot of information that I knew, just making sure that the stories they told me made sense. And they do. I did a lot of research. I went online. I went to my history books, my encyclopedias. Yes, encyclopedias are a good source of knowledge, especially from that time frame. I've got encyclopedias from the 1920s. They give you a good view of Germany before World War I. But that's the whole point. I mean, Napoleon said it best, that to control a population, give them religion and keep them ignorant. Uneducated people will respond to charismatic personalities that tell them stuff they want to hear. Meanwhile, the intellectuals, those who just want to survive, once the violence starts, for the most part, they will keep quiet. Well, I'm not a pacifist, and I'm not going to keep quiet. So in response to the comment I got last week, I hope you like my view on Germany pre-World War II. I've given you all perspectives I know of, all three of them. Yeah. It's more complicated than, oh, Germans were mad because of this. No. Some were, not all of them. That's like saying all people in the United States at the time were in favor of the Revolutionary War. No, learn your facts. A third of the population in the United States pre-revolution were British loyalists. Another third didn't give a shit. They just wanted to survive. Only a third of the population at the time was actually for independence. That's history, folks. And I hope you all learn from history, because I know I haven't learned a lot from history, and that's why I have gray hair, and that's why I'm worried now, because I see history repeating itself again. And hopefully more of us people who are intellectual, more of the people who just want to survive, will speak up before we get to that stage of violence again. Because the thought of having another world war is not exactly a good one. But I'll leave you for now. This has been a long video, and we'll see you next time. Hey, welcome back. I know you're thinking, hey, that's the On the Peg set, and why is your cat in the shot? Well, it's the same set I'm going to use when I film my cool retro comic book reviews. And Jack, well, Jack's a spoiled pussycat. He wants to be on camera. More like he wants attention. All right, off. Okay. The joys of being unscripted, yes. Oh, and just to confirm, people who watch my On the Peg show, it is cream soda I'm drinking, not the other stuff. I only had that at night before going to bed. But what I want to talk about was a series that came out back in the heyday of alternative comic book companies. This is back, when you had more than just Marvel and DC and a couple of small independents we have nowadays. This company was actually making great strides, and they had a couple of series out there that were really good, but this one was one of my favorites, and I love it. I was sad to see it go, because this company did a lot of great things for the comic book industry. They were a good competition, and they were just nice to see new characters. That's right, these were all new characters. These weren't a rehash of public domain characters that you see a lot nowadays. These are new characters. So I'm talking about the DNA agents. They were basically genetic engineering. They were basically ahead of their time. They're thinking, okay, these characters are based on, they weren't mutants. No. They were genetically engineered to be different. Yes. And you had great cover artwork. You had stories that the big two wouldn't do. You had wonderful characters. You had characters that for a while became iconic. They were so good. And yes, a lot of people did compare them to the Teen Titans. which is fine because even the Teen Titans did They did an issue where they sort of had a little bit of fun at the DNA agents, which was actually a good issue. That's how the comic industry was back in those days. It wasn't like, oh, we have to beat everybody in sales. It was like, let's do good stories. Another thing about DNA agents, they had a good way of introducing new characters, which led to spin-offs. We'll get to that in a minute. But as you can see, they had a nice mix of characters. Some people even compare them to Comico's Elementals, which is still one of my loved comic book series that has so much controversy on how it ended and where it is now. That's a story for another day. And maybe we'll get into the Elemental story one day, but Comico was a great company as well. But just to show you, this wasn't just a few small issues you would see. This actually went on and on. I know you're thinking, looks like an Eric Larson character. But they really kept this thing going for quite a lot. And I'm gonna keep on flipping because they were doing something, even an homage every now and then. And that was a very popular poster. I remember working at Nova Comics. That poster was so popular. But 75 cents when the other companies were already over $1. I mean, that was good pricing. They knew how to price it to sell. And they did a lot of great stories. Seriously, a lot of good stories. They dealt with a lot of issues. I forgot. Let me put this one back for a second. Yeah, there was a craze back then. 3D comic books. 3-dimensional comic books. That craze did not really catch on. Everyone did it at one point, except the big two, but, But they really had character development. They had good story writing. The art was consistent, which is important. You had consistent artwork. And it kept on going. It kept on going. It's still going. Oh, wait. It's still there. But unfortunately, like all good things, it did eventually come to an end. I'm thankful enough I have every DNA agent. I love it. It made me super happy. They even had a crossover series. This is what I mean by how they knew how to launch spin-offs. They did a mini-series with one of the DNA characters and Crossfire, which was a spin-off character. And Crossfire himself had a pretty good run. I mean, you think that's a pretty good run. Now, Crossfire, no superpowers, just a guy in a suit. Not Batman. I know you're thinking Batman, but the fact that it was set differently. It was, one of those series that just had a lot going for it. I miss these. I mean, of course, there was a couple things Eclipse did that were kind of like, why are you doing this? Like they did this one series called Who Done It, where if you could solve it, you would win $1,000 US. It was interesting. It was a nice like homage to film laws and so forth. I can't remember whoever won the $1,000, but I know someone did. But just to give you a hint, it wasn't just comic book artwork style. They also did stuff like that. So, the whole point of this is, with the comic book industry the way it is now, with Marvel being so, how can I put it, over the top, politically woke with the new woke, not just being acknowledging people, different backgrounds and genders and sexual orientations, which is fine. They've gotten to the point where they've gone nuts. After all, they're owned by Disney, aren't they? Need I say more? And DC basically can't make up their mind what they're going to do. Let's reboot. No, let's revamp. Let's reboot. Okay, this is why I recommend go to the comic book stores. Go to the ones that you know. For example, here in Ottawa, I'd say go to the comic book shop. If you're in Vancouver, I would say go to 8th Dimension. If you're in Ireland, Sub-City. If you're in London, Forbidden Planet. If you're in Glasgow, Castle Comics. No matter where you are, if you're in Toronto, for example, the Silver Snail, I think they're still there. If you're in Montreal, Comico is still there. I think Expert Comics is still there too. I can't remember or not. I haven't been to Montreal in a long time. But the whole point is go to your comic book stores, especially if they have back issue bins. That's what you want. You want back issue bins. And the funny thing is about these, Most comic book stores, because they're not well-known characters anymore, probably have these in their dollar bins, 50-cent bins, or even quarter bins. You can probably get most of these for next to nothing. And I recommend it. Go digging in your comic book store's back issue bins. You'll be surprised how much good stuff you'll find there. It's not all Marvel and DC. No. There's other companies like Eclipse. There was First Comics, another great comic book company. Comico. I do recommend them. And if you're in the UK or in Ireland, well, guess what? You guys are lucky. You have creators like Nigel Flood who do their own Irish-based characters based in Ireland. Yes, we have that here in Canada. We have like Northgard. We have Captain Canuck every now and then. They're not consistent enough, unfortunately. We need a Canadian comic book industry. We really do, because there's so much potential here. And the fact that so many Canadian artists work for the other companies in the States, do the math. We need our company up here that'll promote. But to promote comic books in Canada, you have to have stores that are successful and viable and aren't struggling to pay their bills. So that's why I'm saying go to your local comic book store. If you don't buy anything new, just pick up some old stuff every now and then. You'd be surprised. That helps them. You go to the comic book store, you pick up some old back issues about even a dead series like, DNA Agents. That's going to help them because that clears up some space. It gives them a bit of revenue and helps them survive. Because unless you want to just get to the point where it's only big companies selling us comic books at insane prices, you got to support the local shops, secondhand bookstores, and of course, comic book stores. And on that note, I'm going to pass you off to Leroy for Leroy's look at a movie trailer that he saw and he won't stop talking about. We'll be back for the wrap-up real soon.
Hey, everybody. It's me, Leroy. And today on Leroy's trailer review. Yes, another review. Different type of review. Well, I got my little pad out so we could watch this trailer together. It's a trailer I've watched 15 times since yesterday. It's called Boy Kills World. That's the boy. He's going to kill the world, apparently. So let's say hit play. Let's watch the trailer together. Starts. Ooh, violence. Now. It's from Lionsgate. Ooh, look at that. Uh-oh, she's a bad person. Now, the story is about this guy who can't speak. He's deaf and mute. Ah! Evil pineapple! The only good pineapple is pineapple on a pizza. Good cinematography. Fight! Violent. Oh, there he is. Oh, look at him. Those are like my abs. Now, I'm going to make sure the Mad Montreal Man puts in the link to this YouTube trailer on the description page so you can click on it and listen to it too. My mouth and ears can hear everything perfectly fine. Oh, it's a Sam Raimi film. You know it's going to be good. I don't know who Roy Lee is, but Roy Lee makes me think of Bruce Lee. Kick butt, Bruce Lee. It is deranged, like many people I know. Now, when I first saw the trailer, I thought the thing was called Puppy Cuffs, The Culling, but no, it's not. It's called Boy Kills World. Surprise! Violence! Ooh, look at the bullets. I have no idea who that actor is. Ooh. Ooh, that looks good. So that's it for me this week, because I got other things to do. But I definitely say, when this comes out, go see Boy Kills World. Yeah, looks good. All right, see you next week. I'm going to watch it again. Oh, there's the date. Gonna watch it again. See you next time.
Hey, welcome to the music part of the show. Last week, I talked about K-pop, and for some odd reason, in the upload, the links I put to the videos I wanted you to watch weren't there. So, we're going to start over. K-pop review. You know, you're thinking, hey, old Montreal man likes K-pop. I do. So, here's Montreal man, K-pop. Now, we're going to start off with Miss A. Now, you won't hear the video because I don't want the copyright strikes. I haven't figured out yet how to avoid getting the copyright strike from playing the music for you, even though it's on YouTube. So I'm going to just run the video for a little bit. And no, I'm not going to do the insert little mini screen here because that's a lot of editing time. And I just think it looks better watching it as I watch it. So this is Miss A's first song. It was called Bad Girl. Now I am going to make sure the links are in the caption, so you see the link here, or actually it'll be right here where my finger is. You'll see the link, and I'm also going to put in the description, so click on the link in the description and you'll be able to hear the video. But this was Miss A, the first girl group I really brought me from Japanese rock and roll and pop to K-pop. Now you're thinking, oh, it's a ballet video. No, it's not. It's actually, the song's called Bad Boy, and it's really good. Now, this to show you the quality of the video back in the day. I mean, this came out quite a long time ago. Now, Miss A doesn't exist anymore. But there you get a hint of, you know, okay, it's a dance video. It's not just dance. The message they are saying as well. They were starting to break the molds. And this was JYP's first, like, big girl group they ever really pushed. And yeah, the video's kind of what you expect from a K-pop video. But this is old K-pop. This is the kind of K-pop that will get you, okay, this is good. I can dance to this. I can see this playing at a club. I like this. You know, that's pretty much, I'm going to basically skip ahead a little bit here because it's not, like I said, it's most a dance video. But we're going to stop this one and let's go to my favorite group of all time. And let's look at their first song, which was Mr. Ambiguous. This is Mamamoo. And this just shows you the evolution of K-pop. Because when they came out, little tease of the music, kind of a jazz feel to it. Now, this came out, you're thinking, okay, it's a behind-the-scenes video. It's not. It was kind of like their big break out there. And, you know, that's We In, by the way. That was We In again. I know my group. That's Mr. You know, Ambiguous. Okay, there goes We In. Bye-bye, We In. Now, We In is a vocalist. She's really good. That is Solar. Well, that was Solar. She's actually the oldest member of the group. That's Moonbo. She can rap like nobody else. Now, of course, a lot of people are more familiar with, come on, come back, Hwasa. That is Hwasa. And oddly enough, by Korean standards, when this group premiered, people didn't like the way she looked. No, go figure. I couldn't figure it out either, but apparently that she has been the K-pop queen who's been breaking the mold on what a woman has to look like to be in the music industry in South Korea. She's curvy, she's outspoken. I love her. I'm more of a Wee-in person myself because for her vocals and the fact she's a painter as well. But that is Mamamoo, and you can see, you know, there's great elements in these videos. And I'm going to put the link to their video right here, of course, at the bottom of the screen. It's also going to be in the description. I'm going to make sure it's there this time. Now, this is their first video. Next week, I'm going to show you probably not their latest video, but one or two of their really... No, I'm only going to show one, because I don't want to do a favoritism, because it's my group that I love so much. But I'm going to show you one of their greatest videos ever done. But I want to show you a taste of K-pop now. So we're going to pause this one. And we're going to go to an individual singer, IU. Her video, of course, is called Love Wins All. Let me just go full screen here. Yeah, it starts off like a movie. Isn't that cool? I have to kill the sound because I don't want to get the copyright strike, but let's just watch together, shall we? Now, when I first saw this, I was like, okay, is she doing a commercial for like a movie or something? No. This is just what they do now in South Korea. When they do music videos, it's not just, okay, we're going to dance. No. They go out. They literally spend money doing videos that tell a story, that have meaning to it. Now, this video, I've seen it quite a few times now, and I'm still blown away by the quality in this video. The use of sign language, it's in there. It is just brilliant. It tells a story. Now, one of the people I do watch, because I do say I watch other reviewers, not just for toys, I also watch Roscoe. Roscoe did a review of this already, so I'm not going to go into all the details repeating what he said. He's a great YouTuber. I do suggest, if you want to get into music, especially K-pop, like, he has a good way of reviewing it, so Roscoe is one of the people I recommend. But for me, as a person who studied TV and film, and yes, I have degrees in that, go figure, I saw this and I was blown away, even without the music, at the intelligence they put into this video. I mean, if you don't understand the language, put captions on. I'll do that for you. I'll put captions on. Okay? Put the captions on as you watch. It's like watching a foreign film. A short foreign film, but it tells a story. And they're really good at doing that. I watch a lot of English music as well. I mean, I'm a fan of the Pretty Reckless, Evanescence, quite a lot of groups as well. I mean, TX4 I watch. But those videos are quite often, okay, here's us playing our instruments. Here's us. There's no stories. The music is great. I love it. But I like a story too. I like a visual, a tease. And this, I mean, sign language. Come on. That's caring about the people that you're trying to get the story to. And I've known a few people over the years that were, I mean, it's politically incorrect to say the word deaf, but they couldn't hear very well. But they would love going to venues where they feel the vibrations. And they care about that. Because as you're watching this, and if you could hear it, I wish I could find a way to avoid the copyright strikes. But I don't have the kind of clout to contact these companies, say, hey, let me do this. It's not worth it. But I want to get you thinking about it. And yes, I do recommend this video link is going to be in the descriptions as well, because it is something worth watching. Now, I'm not going to get all the way to the end because I want you to watch it. And I don't want to spoil anything about it. I'm giving you enough of a teaser of the video, how the quality that's in it. So, what I'm going to ask you guys to do before next week, click on those 3 links. I'm definitely making sure they're going to be in the description this time. I don't know what happened last time. They just didn't appear. Watch them. Let me know your comments. And if there's a group you want me to review, even if it's not K-pop, let me know. I'll take a look at the video and I'll talk about it. Next week, though, definitely Mamamoo and probably 17. That's right. My daughter's favorite group, 17. And maybe I'll toss in some Stray Kids or another independent artist. I don't know. But get used to it. There's going to be a segment on K-pop pretty much every week here, because I like K-pop. But it won't just be K-pop. I also will be looking at bringing back the 78s. Even though the 78s won't have me talk, I'll just play the 78s, because the 78s are all public domain. They're that old. But that's it for now. Let's go to somebody else. Let's go to, I don't know, me again, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Depends on what the editor wants to do. But once more, I hope you click on the links. Let me know your comments. What South Korean group or Japanese group or any other group you want me to watch and listen to. And I'll run the video in the background like this and we'll talk about it. But until then, out of my mind, back in 5 minutes. Or for you, about 3 seconds. All right, my apologies for that being longer than I wanted it to be. But I have to get my thoughts out. I have to basically say what I had to say. But I'm not going to talk about that again today. No. Enough about talking about that kind of thing. What I want to talk about is something that's been sort of on my mind since I was a kid. And yes, I am old. I'm old, okay? I'm old. I was born in '65. I was born in 1965. The same year Canada adopted the maple leaf. Think about it. But as a kid growing up, please ignore the banging if you can hear it. It's just the neighbors. They are horrible. Their child was crying for 3 hours this morning, like from like 8:30 to like 11. Their kid was crying. They bang a lot. Even with the wall of silence, you can still hear them every now and then. At least I can. Maybe you can't. If you can't, that's good. But getting back on point. When I was a kid, being born the same, 1965, same year as the Canada adopted the maple leaf, I grew up watching the space race. I watched men land on the moon. Yeah. I watched the Challenger. I watched all the disasters that happened with the shuttles. I remember when the first shuttle went up, the Enterprise, I was like, wow, that is so cool. Then I also watched the world no longer caring about outer space. No longer wanting to go to the moon. Now, lately, part of it is because I am one of the people stowaway on the Riders of the Moon project, which was supposed to be in the Pellegrin lander that didn't work. They're going to relaunch it. But because of that, there's been a lot more interest in the moon, especially for me. I still look at the moon every day and I'm like, I love that thing. And there's been a couple of other unmanned things landing on the moon from different countries. But one thing I've been thinking about, it's been bothering me for so long. And I'm not going to say it's a smite against any government, but why haven't we gone back? Why are we still delaying going back to the moon or going to Mars? We have the technology. We know it. I mean, come on. Look what those astronauts did in the Apollo. They were in like aluminum foil tin cans, basically, and they went there. And they did it. So what's holding us back? What has got us so terrified of going back? And you know what's even worse? Is so many countries have to rely on three sources. Russia, United States, or NASA to get into space. For a while, it was just two. You had NASA, basically the U.S. controlled NASA, and the Russian system. Now we have private industry that is space tourism, really. So it always bugged me that, Canada and some other countries in the world like the UK, New Zealand, Australia, these countries have brilliant scientists. Even Japan has brilliant scientists. But why has not another country like Canada or New Zealand picked up the pace and said, hey, you know what? We're not going to rely on these guys anymore. And it bothers me that humanity is so reliant on these like three sources, really. Okay, I know China has its own space agency and India has one now too. Well, don't you think it's time that whatever country you're in, it's about time they have one, and not just one that relies on the other two. I mean, look at Canada. We've had Canadian astronauts, Canadian arm. We contributed so much science to space, but we don't build our own rockets. We don't go there ourselves. I know you're thinking, well, those rockets are bad for the environment and so forth, but there's different ways of launching. If you actually do the research and realize, you could launch a spaceship from off of a plane that can get into space. Just, it takes a bit of time to get that going, but you could do it. Science fiction writers wrote this a long time ago. So I think it's about time. It would make me so happy that in my lifetime, I see a Canadian on Mars. Like, imagine the first person on Mars not being from the States or Russia, but being from Canada or New Zealand or even the UK or Scotland. I would love to see that. To see the fact that, countries are saying, we're not going to rely on the big three anymore. We're going to do it ourselves. We have the technology. We have the drive to do it. We do. I mean, especially with the environment the way it is now, and yes, there are some people out there who don't believe in climate change. I see it all the time. Okay? And the scientists are saying, well, at best we got 50 years before we really see the big impacts. We're seeing the impacts now, folks. So there's a couple things we should do. Number one, instead of focusing so much on, we have to, take care of this country and this country, I think it's about time our countries, not just Canada, but like New Zealand, Australia, UK, start thinking, you know what? We have to take care of them. We also take care of ourselves and the planet. I mean, when I was a kid, I heard about the UN, and I was like, oh, the UN, this great world government that should take care of everything. They don't. The UN has failed. Let's be honest. The UN has failed in being the world government. They don't. They really don't. And Canada has been a super strong member of the UN. A lot of people, my family included, have served in the UN forces. And they're great peacekeepers. But it's about time, I think, that maybe the UN should create its own space program. Not rely on NASA or the Russians or the Chinese or India. I think it's about time that maybe some other countries got together and said, we're going to build our own rockets. We're going to go there. Because I think it'd be really great if Canada landed the first person on Mars. And maybe not Mars, because Mars is apparently 2030. I think now they're saying we might get someone there. But how about Canada being the first country to land a person on, say, Titan? Just saying. If they want volunteers, I'll go. They'll shut me up. Send me in space on a 10-year trip. I'll do it. I'm crazy enough. I don't need a lot of food. But no, my whole point is, I think humanity needs to refocus, not on nationalist movements in countries and stuff, but to start focusing on two major things. The world needs fixing. I know a lot of people talk about terraforming Mars. How about we fix Earth first? It's easier to fix this planet than to make Mars Earth-like. Let's be honest, the science is there. Yeah, it's doable if you got a lot of time to do it. But we could fix this planet faster. Yeah, we can. And I know a lot of people say, well, it's all my generation's fault and so forth. It's kind of funny when I hear that. I used to drink milk out of a bottle. My Coke came out of a bottle. My cream soda's out of a bottle. Bottles were recyclable, and we recycled our bottles. Now it's disposable this, disposable that. So, trying to say that my generation is responsible for the fall of the environment. No, because the environmental movement started really big time. I mean, it was there before. There always were environmentalists. But the push for trying to keep this earth viable really started with, hate to say it, people born in 1965 to 1980. Yeah. So for me, it's always been important to, hey, we have to save this planet. It's the only planet we have. Let's be honest. I know people are saying, well, the sun will eventually consume the earth, but it's so far away. We're one major solar flare away from being cavemen again. So that's why it's important to save the earth as much as we can. And at the same time, say, okay, just in case, we have a backup, at least for a small portion of humanity, the moon, Mars, and beyond that. Maybe I watched too much science fiction as a kid growing up, but to me it's important that we look at not just the day-to-day, mundane, I have to pay for gas, I have to do this, I have to do that. We have to start thinking, hey, we need to educate the people, start fixing the world. And the technology is there. Fortunately, we're in a system that is money-based. It is. And part of that is because, money is what runs the world. That and religion. And religion's a different topic completely. I'm not a religious person. I have no problem if someone has their own beliefs. You believe in God, Buddha, Jesus, whatever. Allah, I don't care. I'm not a fan of organized religion because it controls people. It keeps them from thinking outside the box. It also, as Napoleon said, it's a good way of controlling people. Give them religion, keep them ignorant. Well, it's time to end the ignorance. We save our planet, and we go to Mars and the moon. Put humans up there again. And not just scientists. You have to, I know it sounds crazy, you have to send a poet. You need someone who can describe it in such a way that you'll feel it. A lot of astronauts said that in the past too. They should send a poet up there. But yeah, we have to save our world. And the best way to do that is to stop the ignorance, get people educated, knowledgeable, and start saving the planet. At the same time, start looking at the moon again and then Mars. And not in the far future. We have the technology now. We do. Do the research. But that's it for the rant of the week. It's been a long week. And I think I think we're going to wrap it up now. I mean, I hope you enjoyed Lowry's very interesting take on housing in the world. And Leroy will Leroy's Leroy. So until next week, stay healthy. No matter how bad your life is, stay positive. That's what I do every day. I drink my cream soda. Okay, not every day. I'm more of a milk drinker. And if you're lactose intolerant, you have my sympathies because I drink a lot of milk. But no, basically, no matter how bad the world seems, no matter how bad your life is, trust me, I should know my life is like down the bits. Stay positive. Because you stay positive and you keep on thinking, you know what, tomorrow will be a sunny day. The snow is going to melt. And if you start thinking about what can I do to help things better, well, the first thing you do is stay positive. And start thinking about those small things you can do to become more knowledgeable. In other words, read a book, do some research, encourage the governments of the world, encourage the companies of the world to start saying, hey, we have to start fixing this and also going up there. And that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the rants, the little tidbits of humor. If you do like the show, please like, subscribe, hit the notification little button. It's that little bell-shaped thing. If you want to see if we do a short during the week. Sometimes we do shorts. Not all the time, but, you know, it's not just serious comment, and we do have some fun every now and then. And if you want a toy review channel where I'm not as serious, well, use this. Just think of this set and think of the On the Peg channel, and we'll see you next week. Until then, take care, and you have my thanks and appreciation. Well, that's going to pretty much wrap up the show for today. I just figured I'd leave you with a wonderful little look at Ottawa on a sunny Saturday. Yes, my breath is cold. It's making that mist in the air. It's windy, it's cold, but it's sunny. And the good news, because I want to end this episode on a positive note, no matter how screwed up our world is, it's the only one we've got. Think about it. Until we actually survive the next decade, or 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, this is the only world we have. We should fix it. Then, of course, once we fix it, we should go make other worlds. We should live on the moon. We should live on Mars. We should live elsewhere as well. Because frankly, if Canadians can put up with the winters here and still wear shorts, then so can the rest of the world. And on that note, we'll see you next week. Time to flip the camera upside down and give you another view. Yes, Canadians, we wear shorts in winter. It's a fact.